Tonight, as you know, we're going to hear from people who will be affected by the amendment. We have actually a rather large panel, so we're going to break it into two groups. And we got the first group up here already, and they're going to be speak for about 30 minutes, and then we'll let them take seats elsewhere, and we'll call the next group up, and they collectively will speak about 30 minutes. And then we will open the floor to discussion and questions. I'll remind you that this is the third in the four-part series, and that next week our topic will be what can we do about the amendment? And we'll have a speaker from Protect All NC Families, Ryan Rowe, who's their outreach coordinator for faith groups, and we'll have Reverend Roland Russell, retired UCC minister, who is on the volunteer staff of the North Carolina Council of Churches. But tonight, as I said, we have a panel on people who are affected by the amendment, and this first half of the panel, we have Libby and Melissa Hodges, who brought their daughter Maura. And we have Mary Lee Martin, and then we have Wendy Woods and Stacy Poston, who are here. So I will turn it over to them and ask them if they will use the microphone. Just hold this in your lap and hold this down about here. Oh, we're starting down here.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so as I stated, my name is Melissa Hodges. This is my significant other, Libby. I guess I wanted to begin with a quick disclaimer, because we work for local government, but we are obviously not representing their opinions or policies, etc. We're just representing our own personal viewpoints here tonight. There's a few other disclaimers too. I know there's a lot of different ramifications of the amendment. As a lesbian, I can really only speak to my experience. So if I leave out other details, it's not because they're unimportant or I don't care. I just can't speak to those easily. Libby and I have been together for 10.5 years. We got married in Canada almost 6 years ago. And we have a 5-year-old daughter, which, being a lesbian couple, is a very, very planned child. Surprises at our house. I guess those are the biggest concerns for us. We left Georgia in part because they passed a similar amendment, although it wasn't quite as poorly worded. So that was a big blow. That was really, really upsetting for us. So when we were looking for a place to live, we were seriously looking at places where Libby could do a second parent adoption of the child that I carried that we planned for together. Somewhere that we would have rights. We were fortunate that she got a job with the local government that did allow for myself and our daughter to be on her health insurance. It's really upsetting to think that that was a unanimous vote by that local government, and that could be taken away by folks that don't know me, don't know my day-to-day life. But that is really scary. I mean, we've spent thousands of dollars on wills and powers of attorney in order to make sure if something happens, she can be in the hospital room. Particularly when our daughter was born, that was a big concern. What if something happened to me before we could do a second parent adoption, which now we can no longer do in the state of North Carolina for a different reason. But so we moved here, and we couldn't scrape together the $5,000 before that was taken away from us, so that's gone. But that was a big concern. What if something happened in the middle of labor and delivery? And if we didn't have that power of attorney, then we'd spend thousands of dollars, or if it hadn't been recognized, or if they wanted to dispute it and we didn't have an attorney on site to insist that they recognize it, Libby could have been denied access. Something had happened to me and someone needed to make decisions for our child, and I was under anesthesia or something like that. What could have happened if they didn't recognize what we had spent thousands of dollars to accomplish? So we specifically looked to move when Laura was 9 months old. We picked Durham because the city had domestic partner benefits, and because we hoped we would have more rights, because it had everything that we really, really wanted in an area to live in. The Triangle really had everything. And now we're back to facing the same issue that we moved here to avoid in part. We moved Moira 7 hours away from her grandparents. We're very, very angry with us for that. Almost Libby's entire extended family lives in Georgia. Both my siblings, my parents, They're all in Georgia when we left. So the option of trying to go somewhere again is, we're going to go to Maryland, or we're going to go to Iowa, or we're going to go a plane ride away from all those people that want to be a part of her life, that want to be there for her birthday and for Christmas. So that's a big concern for us, is just the impact on her. What if I go out of town and Moira's with Libby and she no longer has a right? She takes Moira to the emergency room and then they say, I'm sorry, you have no legal right to be in there, and our 5-year-old is scared in an emergency room alone, and they won't let her mother see her. Or if something should happen to me, my mother has flat out said, I will not sign anything that says I wouldn't try to take her away. She said, I wouldn't do it unless I had some concern over Libby's mental health or stability, but I'll never sign that right away. And my fear is that if something happened to me, my mother could potentially be so distraught that she would fight and try to take guardianship from the person that's Moira's mom. She does all the same kisses goodnight and bedtime stories and bath time and other. But I could go on for hours, so I'll pass on a little bit.
Kind of hard to follow Melissa up. Basically, what I wanted to show you guys today is this set of documents. This is what we have to carry everywhere. We have copies in our car. We have copies, you know. I've had to show this to the people at work in order to get health insurance for my daughter, which I still had to fight for, even in a place that was supposed to be friendly. It's hard to imagine. This is such a, I have to be careful not to move into, you know, this amendment versus gay marriage, which is, at this point, this is kind of two different arguments. You know, we need to focus on the amendment first. And this is my opinion, but we need to focus on the amendment first, and then you know, we'll work on the rest of this stuff just as it comes along. But I mean, this, to me, it's a huge equity issue as well, just in general socially, because we were lucky. We're two well-educated, well-employed people who happen to be able to put enough money together to buy, what was this, $4,500 to do this paperwork. There are a lot of people that can't afford that. So anybody who, you know, any couple that wouldn't happen to have a job where they could afford to do this, you know, what did they do? You know, how do we stand as people trying to live equitable lives to make sure that everybody has the same access to legal protection, that everybody has the same access to live their lives how they need or how they would like to live? You know, how does it make us look that you have to put together this entire packet of paper just to do that? You know, just for me to see who I call my wife, you know, if she was sick, you know, for her to get any rights whatsoever to any money I may have, which is not even including, you know, the state retirement plan, which we have no rights to each other's plans. So all this planning and all this working for the public that we've been doing all these years, you know, if something happens to one of us, that's it, pension's gone. So that's I think that's about all I have to say.
I'm Mary Lee Martin. I also work for an area municipality, and my opposite sex partner and I have been together for about 12 years, and we've owned a home together for about 6 of those. And he could not be here tonight, but he feels, I'm speaking for him, he feels the same way. And of course, I've got the same, some of the same issues, but I guess the biggest thing I've been thinking about is the domestic partnership health benefit. And if this amendment passed, would it just go away? We haven't used it so far, but my partner is works for a large retailer, and there have been a lot of layoffs in the past 3 or 4 years, and And I've taken some comfort in knowing that if he were to be laid off and lose his health insurance, that I could pick him up. And so that's given us a little bit of financial security that may just go away. And I imagine some people may be thinking, well, just, you know, you can get married, just get married. And yes, we could do that and have all those benefits. But our lesbian and gay friends don't have that option. We have many friends. I'm thinking of a couple down the street from us that have just celebrated their 20th anniversary. Many of our friends are raising children, caring for elderly adults. They've worked in the community, they contribute to the community, and they just don't have that option. So that doesn't seem right to me. I've heard some of the arguments for the passage of the amendment, and I think that at the heart of that is basically fear. I think people may be afraid that the kind of Ozzie and Harriet ideal of marriage would be lost somehow. And it seems to me that if marriage, even the Ozzie and Harriet version, means long-term commitment, caring for family, raising children, caring for extended family, sharing a home, sharing finances, planning for the future, all those things, then it seems to me that the domestic partners that I know are already married. I guess just to wrap up, I believe that all domestic partnerships, same-sex or opposite sex, deserve all the same benefits and protections that married couples enjoy.
Thanks. My name is Stacy Poston, and this is my partner, Wendy Woods. We moved here together. We've been together for more than 13 years. I work for a municipality here in Durham that offers domestic partnership benefits both for same-sex and opposite-sex partners. It's really important to understand that our city council was very progressive in making those benefits available to people back in 2002. In your packs today, we tried to bring you a couple of pieces of paper. One, the first sheet is the amendment itself. What does it actually say? Because sometimes people have said, you know, what does it say? And as we've discussed before, in Section 6, marriage, the first sentence is the only sentence that's going to be on the ballot, where it says marriage between one man and one woman is the only legal domestic union that shall be valid or recognized in the state. And the second sentence there about private parties is actually not going to be on the ballot this year. And there's, you know, people have said, you know, you get your DP benefits through the city, what's going to happen? And I think we've heard over and over again that the only thing that we know for sure is going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of litigation and a lot of expense to try to sort all these things out, the things that Mayor Lee has talked about, and things that Rudy and Melissa have talked about, you know, the recognitions that we've put together and set in place. You know, you're unsure about whether those things are going to exist should the amendment pass. And so the second couple of sheets of paper are the resolution. It's the most recent resolution that the Durham City Council passed last week. Diane Katati crafted this document. It really lays out the history of what's happened here in Durham. And, you know, it was a foundation based on civil rights and equal protection. And it moved forward in 2002 when City Council voted 4-3 to pass domestic partnership benefits. And when it was passed, the deciding vote at that point, the person said, I'm voting because I want the children to have health benefits. And that was how we were able to get the domestic partnership benefits passed. And then in 2009, my good friend here was having trouble administratively getting the benefits that council had said that we were honored to have. She was having trouble, even though council had passed a resolution indicating that domestic partnership benefits should be given to same and opposite sex employees. You know, she was really struggling on the administrative side of actually the implementation. So I would say to you, it's great to have the laws, but you also have to have people in place who are really willing to execute what the council says needs to happen. And so a lot of times it's really person to person talking to people, and I've heard that over and over again as we've come to here. And it's really that one-on-one relationship that can make a difference, you know, whether it's a city clerk or someone in the Human Resources Department, knowing who you are and knowing your family and doing the right thing. And so you'll see here in 2009, City Council passed another resolution indicating that same and opposite sex partners should be covered under the health insurance. And that was because we were having trouble, honestly, with one of the administrative departments in terms of actually giving the benefits that council had directed. And then a couple of years later, in 2012, council again affirmed their interest in not having a state amendment. And again, Diana Gattati crafted this, and we are honored to say that 7 of the council members, all 7 of them, voted against the marriage amendment and this resolution. So they're to be commended because they've really done great work. Just sort of as a point of information for government employees in North Carolina, there are 2 counties, 2 towns, and 3 city governments that offer domestic partnership benefits. So of the 3 of us up here who work for city government, only 2 of us work at a place where city government provides those benefits. So not all of the governments in the city, towns, and counties.
And the reason for mine isn't even necessarily the local government, but they get their insurance through the League of Municipalities. So I couldn't just appeal the local council that I work for that know me, and I'm out and they've all met my family. I would have to appeal the League of Municipalities in order to get that option.
Which is a statewide organization.
That's right. So for the smaller towns and counties, they get their insurance through a pool. They don't self-insure like the city of Durham does. So then, with regard to my partner, Wendy, you know, as I indicated, I received domestic partnership benefits through the city. So that's health insurance, life insurance, cancer insurance, the ability to have time off to take care of my family or her mother. You know, all of those benefits that are inure to you as an employee. And Wendy owns a small business. And so what happens is, if this amendment passes, the money that we save by me not having to buy separate policies for life insurance and health insurance and dental insurance and eye insurance and all of that stuff, she would have to buy. We would have to pay to buy those things. Where now we're covered on a group plan, which is less expensive, probably provides better coverage. I don't have to spend a lot of time going out and sourcing all of those policies. And as a result of that, Wendy, who has 2 restaurants and employs about 25 people, is able to provide additional benefits to her employees because she's not spending as much on her own health insurance. So it's a really important trickle-down economic benefit that she's able to provide to her employees because my employer provides to me. A couple more points. One is, I think that if you think about this amendment and you see here that the 2nd paragraph talks about private contracts and private employers, you should think about it in terms of, if you don't give domestic partnership benefits to government employees, are you making government an employer of last resort? A place where you don't have as strong of a benefits package, and so people don't want to work there. If I can't give benefits to Wendy, and that's a part of the reason I'm there, it's a part of the reason you hear people move and work in certain places, you may make government a place of last resort. And when you think about 10% of the population in the country works for government, that's a pretty astounding sort of thing to think about. I worked for Time Warner when I got out of college, more than 20 years ago, and I had domestic partnership benefits then. I've never worked somewhere where I didn't have DP benefits. So Wendy's kind of shy, so she's going to smile.
I guess I'm not a very political person, you know, really just, you know, we just have been together a long time. I have my own business. Everyone knows we're together. You know, it just feels normal. You know, and our life is like a normal American family. And I just never really thought about it. And then as Stacy is very political, I mean, you know, she started talking about, you know, this amendment, and You know, we've done, you know, a couple of events at Nosh to raise money, you know, to try to raise awareness. And lots of my customers have no idea, you know, about the amendment, what it means, when to vote. And it's heterosexual couples as well as gay couples don't know. So this is sort of scary, you know, when I start talking to customers and they're like, what is all that about? And you're trying to explain it to them. And Stacy has this sign at our house. It's wrong to vote on rights. To me, both of us have, you know, jobs that we've had for over 10 years. We're law-abiding citizens. You know, we function as a family. Our monies are together. You know, I just find this unbelievable, really, that, you know, that this is happening. And I think exposure to everybody and talking to everybody is the best way to get people to vote, you know, the way, you know, as an American and not vote on rights, you know. So, and yes, as a small business owner, I probably couldn't have, you know, opened the restaurant and paid for my own insurance that Stacy has done for me. And as a small business owner, I offer insurance to individuals, my core individual team that, you know, never changes. And I've got people on staff that I would not be able to offer insurance under if this amendment passes. So I think that's awful, you know, and I'm an American, and that's the way I feel about that on a personal level and as a business owner.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Why don't we hold the questions till the end when we've heard all the folks, and then. So thank you. First panel. I invite the members of the second half of the panel to step forward and have a seat. The one so still.